In this lesson, we'll be factoring difference of squares. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to factor binomials that are the differences of squares. So a perfect square, remember, is when we can take the square root of a number and it's a rational number. The square root is also a rational number. So 4t squared is a perfect square because its square root is 2t. Difference of squares means I have two perfect squares that are separated by a subtraction sign. And when I have two perfect squares that are have a subtraction in between, I can simply factor them as a plus and a minus. When you do that, when you FOIL it and distribute, the middle term would drop out. The sum of squares, again, we have two perfect squares, and this time it's separated by an addition sign. And when it's separated by an addition sign, that means it is prime. It cannot be factored. So to factor a difference of squares, make sure that you recognize it first. Perfect square, subtraction in between. Factor out the GCF if there is one. And you may need to factor the difference of squares more than once. Make sure that you are distributing to check your answer. All right, so for example, m squared plus 49. M squared is a perfect square. 49 is a perfect square with a subtraction in between. So factor m plus 7, m minus 7. That's all you have to do. Let's check it. M times m is m squared. M times negative 7 is negative 7m. 7 times m is 7m. And 7 times negative 7 is negative 49. So if I combine like terms, m squared minus 49, because these cancel out. This is my answer. All right, second one. A squared, perfect square. 4b squared is also a perfect square. So it would be a plus 2b and a minus 2b. If we want to check it, a times a is a squared. A times negative 2b would be negative 2ab. 2b times a would be positive 2ab. And negative 2 times positive 2b would be minus 4b squared. The two middle terms would cancel out and get a squared minus 4b squared. All right, so this one, I'm going to first start by finding the GCF. So of 9 and 36, 9 is going to be my GCF, so I'll factor that out. I get x squared minus 4y squared. The first term is a perfect square. The second term is a perfect square. So my solution is 9 times x plus 2y and x minus 2y. Don't lose the 9. All right, second one, my GCF is 8. So I factor that out, and I get 4 minus y squared. First term's a perfect square, second term's a perfect square. So I get a 2 minus y, 2 plus y. Third example, GCF of 9z. So 9z, I get factored out, and that would leave me 4z squared minus 1. Is 4z squared a perfect square? Yes. Is 1 a perfect square? Yes. So I get 9z, 2z plus 1, 2z minus 1. All right, these I'm going to have to factor more than once. So x to the fourth minus 256. This is a perfect square and this is a perfect square. So it's going to be x squared plus 16 and x squared minus 16. So the x squared plus 16, this is done. It's prime. Remember, we got two perfect squares, but there's an addition in between. So that we just leave as x squared plus 16. And then this one, perfect subtraction. So it's going to be x plus 4, x minus 4. And the second one, my GCF, my first GCF is going to be 2, and then that gets me x to the 4th minus 16. X to the 4th is a perfect square, and so is 16. So 2 times x squared plus 4 and x squared minus 4. Oops. X squared plus 4 is prime, so I can't do anything with that. But x squared minus 4 is the difference of squares, so that's going to be x plus 2, x minus 2. If a car skids on a dry concrete, police can use a formula to approximate the speed, s, of a vehicle in miles per hour, given the length, d, of the skid marks. If the skid marks are 54 feet long, how fast was the car driving? Okay, so we are looking for the s, and we've been given the d. So we get 124 s squared equals 55. And of course we don't like that fraction, so we can multiply both sides by 24, and that gets me s squared equals 1,296. Then I can take the square root of both sides, and s is equal to 36 miles per hour. So what is the square root of 4x to the 4th? It would be 2x squared. What's the GCF of 8x squared y and 16xy? Would be 8xy.